Hey everybody, welcome to Lore Friday for February 26th, 2021. I'm your host, DM Galabond. Alright, so the last several dozen weeks we have been going through adventure by adventure the entire campaign of Princes of the Apocalypse, breaking it down, showing how you can pull those pieces out and put them in your own uh, homebrew campaigns. We're also going to be doing that now with a brand new adventure. But today we want to kind of give you an overview of this new adventure. This is Out of the Abyss, which is based in the Underdark, and as written, it's supposed to be for levels 1 through 15. It tells an interesting story. It has an interesting background. It's got some problems with it too. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's good about it, a little bit about some of the issues it has, and some strategies for running the campaign if you're going to run the campaign as written as a DM. And then into each of our weekly segments, we will get into how you can modify that for your own use. If you're going to mine the campaign for uh, bits and pieces here and there. So let's go ahead and get started. First, an overview. Out of the Abyss, this main campaign is designed for levels 1 through 15, and the storyline it presents adventures more or less in the order that the events unfold, um, which is good because you can follow through it linearly. The bad part about it is that as a DM, you have to plan encounters based on the level of your party because the level of the enemies is not always appropriate for a party of that level at this point in the plot. You don't have to skip around in the source book very much, but you will need to preview and tune every single encounter to make sure the challenge matches the level of the PCs. Um, and when we get to the weekly individual breakdowns of this, I'm going to be talking a lot about a tool that I enjoy using as a DM called Kobold Fight Club. And Kobold Fight Club really helps you to tune encounters based on the number and level of PCs and the types of monsters by their challenge rating that your PCs are facing, and then helps you build an encounter that's going to be the level of difficulty you want it to be. Because not every encounter needs to be something that leaves the PCs at death's door. Um, but you should have a variety. Sometimes you should really challenge the PCs. Sometimes it should be fairly easy. And there may be times that you even want to throw a few waves of monsters at the PCs. Soften them up with something that initially is kind of a challenge, but then kind of gets easier towards the end of the fight. And just when they think they're in the clear, then come in and smack them with something that's even more difficult and more of a challenge, um, so that they really feel like they're being tested. So you need to be careful because you could very easily overwhelm characters at many points in this campaign if you don't take the time to set up each encounter and know how many of the different types of monsters you can throw at them at once. Uh, a thing that this campaign lacks is there's really not much of an overview at the beginning to set the stage for the DM. It's just kind of you just start, and as a DM, you kind of pick up things about this along the way. So you really almost are forced as a DM to read through the entire campaign before you can even start running it. Otherwise, you're gonna be scrambling because oh, you may have thought about something, but it turns out there's a different explanation for it down the road if you didn't already read that and know that. There's very little guidance in the campaign for the appropriate levels of play. There's only three specific points where it talks about level. Right in the beginning, it says the PCs are level 1. You get about halfway through, and it recommends, oh, hey, by this point, your characters ought to be level 7 or 8. But there's no guide internally to say, you know, if you're using milestones, you should probably level up after this chapter. Nothing like that exists in the book. And then towards the end, it says, oh, before this kind of thing, you really ought, PCs really ought to be such and such a level. So is not a lot of help to know when you should level up, when you shouldn't. We're going to be recommending today, and I'm going to be recommending as I go through what level or level ranges would be appropriate for each of these particular types of encounters. Also, I'm going to show what level, if you didn't prepare and you just threw PCs in there cold and you went in there cold, kind of the point in the story, it says it's tuned for this, but really it's tuned for this level. And that's more to just kind of get you in the mindset of you've got to be looking ahead, reading ahead, paying attention before you just try to run this cold. All right, let's talk about the origin and themes of the campaign. Out of the Abyss was written by Chris Perkins. He's a longtime developer on the D&D side of the house with Wizards of the Coast. You probably, if you follow D&D, if you're a fan of D&D, you've probably seen him on things like he hosts the PAX games with the Acquisitions Incorporated folks. So Jerry Hulkins as Omen Drawn and Mike Krahulik as Jim Dark Magic, so on and so forth. He also did the rather successful and long-running dice camera action game that was produced out of Wizards of the Coast. It was a weekly campaign, and I really enjoyed that campaign, and I picked up a lot of ideas. In fact, one of the games that I'm running right now is based on ideas I picked up specifically out of his dice camera action game. Um, so he's a good writer and tells compelling stories. Um, and he cites two different sources for this game. One source is the Drizzt Do'Urden novel Exile by R.A. Salvatore, and that basically tells us why Drizzt is in exile from Menzoberranzan, from his Drow heritage. The other main source he cites is the fable Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Um, so you've got sort of, if you know anything about Alice in Wonderland, you know that's really fantastical and there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on there. The Underdark is kind of a strange and foreboding place. So you take weird and kind of humorous, dark and foreboding, and you mash them together, and that's kind of where this comes from, out of the abyss. So there's themes of madness, mania, and chaos run amok in this adventure. They can be challenging to play as a DM without slipping into stereotypes. They can also be a challenge for players if the themes of madness and mental illness hit too close to home due to personal experiences. So you do have to, I would say that you do have to kind of take your players into account with this game. And, this is kind of a serious thing because, mental illness is a serious problem. And a lot of people deal either directly or indirectly because of family members or friends that fight those kinds of issues. You want to be careful that you don't make light of it um, inadvertently by sort of the stereotypes that you do. Now, yes, this is total fantasy, and yes, this is happening in the Underdark and whatnot, but we live in a day and age when people aren't very good about separating fiction from reality. And so, we've got a lot of people that get really upset with some of their favorite creators because of, you know, later it turns out those creators have certain views that the fan base doesn't agree with. Um, all you have to do, you don't have to look any farther than the fan base of Harry Potter and, all of the nonsense that they're uh, going on about with J.K. Rowling. It's like, people, please, if you like the stories, separate the story from the storyteller. It's fine. You just, you can still love the story, but not necessarily love the personal life of the storyteller. It's not a big deal. But people have a problem with that these days. So you just have to kind of keep that in mind if you're a DM running the campaign for a group of players, that if they personally or they have struggles in their life, you just want to be sensitive to that and not basically um, make them feel like this is hitting too close to home. Campaign is almost entirely set in the sunless eternal darkness of the Underdark. Features sadistic drow, cruel Duergar, ravenous predators, and lots and lots and lots and lots of demons. Um, in some ways, madness is a coping mechanism, which adds humor to the campaign, but it also has a very dark undertone. Um, if you kind of like, or if you want a lightweight example of how madness can be kind of um, a dark humor, I would point you to um, the 1980s music video by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers for their song "Don't Come Round Here No More." Uh, just like this campaign, a driving influence for that video is very obviously Alice in Wonderland. And um, Tom Petty kind of is cast in the role of the Mad Hatter. Um, and it's sort of like this 4-minute exploration of sort of the sort of total madness of that entire Wonderland scenario. Um, it's a decent song, catchy tune, um, and it's a fun video. But also, if you think about the video, there's some dark elements in it too. All right, and the final battle of this campaign could see the party face off against demon lords from the abyss. And when I say demon lords, I mean these are people who have ruling thrones within the abyss and who are on a power level very close to, if not equal to, deities in D&D. So you're going up against some super powerful monsters at the end of this campaign, and once again, as a DM, you got to kind of be careful about it because you could easily wind up with a TPK if you overdo it. You'll also wind up having your characters run across and have encounters with demon lords throughout, but they're written so that you're supposed to see them, and the PCs are supposed to be encouraged to run away. But if you've run D&D games for a while, you know there's not a monster that some players don't want to go kill. Doesn't matter if they're first level, doesn't matter if they're 20th level, doesn't matter if they're at level cap, doesn't matter if they're at middle range. They see that monster, they want to go kill it. And when that monster is, a challenge rating that it could basically just outright kill them with a single attack, they don't care. They still want to go fight it. So you gotta be careful how you use these big monsters, especially early in the game. And the way the game is written, this campaign is going to present opportunities for players to do dumb things very early on. All right, so let's take a look at the structure, and this is a 4-part structure to the campaign. Out of the Apocalypse, like we said, starts with little to no background. What you're told is you're told that the party are first level adventurers who have been captured and enslaved by the Drow, and they are in a slave pen at an outpost with a bunch of other NPCs. Chapter 1 deals with the plight of the enslaved PCs, learning the politics of their captors, the peculiarities of their fellow prisoners, and there's a little ticking clock off to the side. This ticking clock says that within so many days, a patrol from Menzo Berenzan is going to get there to transfer all the prisoners back to the capital city. And the implication is that if prisoners want to escape, they better do it before that patrol gets there, because otherwise, when the patrol gets there, it's too late. So that's kind of the setup. The problem is that the the overwhelming force of Drow and their allies at this prison camp means that you could very easily have a TPK for level 1 characters. And so there's this tension of, well, you want them to get away, and as a DM, you want to make that getaway survivable, but you don't want to make it too easy. And so you really have to plan how you're going to do this. And when we talk about the whole slave pen situation, I'm going to give you a little bit of an idea of what I did when I was running this campaign back in Adventurers League. Um, I'm not sure I'd make the same decisions again, but I'm not I'm not sad about the decisions I made before because uh, as a DM, they're just asking a lot of you when you're running this campaign. Okay. Chapter 2 describes conditions in the Underdark away from any specific key locations or settlements, provides information on the flora and fauna, travel times, distances, environmental hazards, random encounters, and offers a few side adventures PCs can have as they travel from one location to another. Kind of like the alarms and excursions in the previous campaign. These are things that you can sprinkle in as the party goes from one location to another during the Underdark. They're probably not all things you should do between the time they leave and the time they get to um, the Dark Lake in Chapter 3. Maybe do one of them on that route, then come back later, do another one as they're traveling somewhere else, then come back later, do another one as they're going somewhere else, and so on and so forth. Chapter 3 deals with a vast underground body of water called the Dark Lake and one of the low level locations where the madness afflicting the Underdark can be felt. This is the Kuotoa city of Slubladup, where a dark ritual is about to succeed in summoning the demon lord Demogorgon in the flesh. What? Are you kidding me? This is tier 1 monsters, and you're putting them up against Demogorgon? Well, okay, we shouldn't be surprised. You remember back when we were doing Tyranny of Dragons, how in level 1 at the town of Greenest, they were expecting a level 1 party to go up against an adult blue dragon? Yeah, okay, same kind of nonsense happening here. A, you know, Demogorgon. And unlike that blue dragon, it's not being hired, and it's not just going to go away when you plink it with a few arrows. Demogorgon is intent on destroying the city. So, and a whole city full of Kuotoa can't do a damn thing about it. So if a whole city full of people can't stop this uh, demonic lord, how is a level 3 party supposed to do anything about it? But you're going to have those players. Nope, it's attacking. We're supposed to be heroes. This means we've got to fight it. Be careful, DMs. Be careful. Uh, get your party to think with common sense if you can. Or I don't care. If you want to, just teach them a lesson and kill them all. That's up to you. All right, chapter 4 maps the Duragar trade city of Gracklestug. This city is perhaps the largest and best organized non-drow city in the entire Underdark. But madness is apparent here as the king's mind is being affected by madness and also being influenced by other forces around him. Yet there's also another danger for a low level party, which is there's an adult red dragon who keeps the city's forges lit, and it's starting to realize it's less of a ruler and more of a pampered slave. And that doesn't really go over well with a dragon's ego. So there's all kinds of factions at strife with each other within the city of Gracklestug, and your party has to deal with those. All right, part two of the campaign. Chapter 5 introduces the sentient fungus folk, the Myconids, and their settlement of Neverlight Grove. Uh, by the time you get to part 2, I would recommend you're probably either at the cusp or already into tier 2. So chapter 1 is probably levels 1 through 4. Chapter 2 is going to be like 5 through 10 or so. Um, Chapter 5 introduces sentient fungus folk, Myconids, and their settlement of Neverlight Grove. Reveals the demon lord Zagutmoy has taken up residence here and is corrupting the place with her own brand of madness. Chapter 6 details the deep gnome city of Blingdenstone, where the demon lord Jubilex holds sway through his mad thrall, the Pudding King, who has a court full of ooze monsters. Chapter 7 provides an escape from the Underdark for respite above the surface, but it's only a matter of time before the PCs are summoned once again to face the horror below. Chapter 8, this is one of those points where it tells you, hey, before you come back down here, the PCs probably ought to be level 8 at least. Introduces Gauntlgrim, a famous dwarven stronghold, and its equally famous king, Brunor Battlehammer, who is one of the companions of the famous Drow Ranger Drist Duerden. All right, now we get into the third part of the campaign, and you're gonna be probably on the cusp of tier 3. You can still be high tier 2 when you start this. Um, But Chapter 9 takes the party to an Underdark outpost called Mantle Dareth, where many races mingle, places plunge into madness, and the key contact that they need to find here is missing. Chapter 10, similar to Chapter 2, this is sort of a travel montage with information options, random events, and encounters suitable for characters in the latter stages of the campaign. So as they are going from place to place in this next part of the campaign, you can mine some of that information out of Chapter 10 to put in as they travel, because all the stuff you found in Chapter 2 is going to be not much of a challenge for them anymore. Chapter 11 uh, leads the party to Graven Hollow, a vast library of the stone giants that's in the Underdark, and it holds the key to the mystery of the Demon Lord incursion and some unusual librarians. A sentient basilisk, along with 3 stone giants. Chapter 12 introduces a dangerous ally. This is a drow wizard named Vizaran who seeks vengeance for personal reasons against the mage who completed the ritual that summoned the demon lords to Menzoberranzan, the home city of the drow. Chapter 13 leads the characters to hunt for a beholder in a purple worm egg nursery, where the drow are also hunting for purple worm eggs. So you not only have to deal with purple worms, but you got to deal with drow, and you got to find and fight a beholder. So yeah, really challenging there. And the fourth and final part of the campaign, Chapter 14, could spell the beginning of the end or cause even more trouble. The party will face at least 2 demon lords and discover an ancient machine that might purge a demon lord or 2 from the Underdark, or it might screw things up even worse because of the random and chaotic nature of this particular machine. And that all takes place in a confusing maze of tunnels filled with madness. Chapter 15 takes the party to the heart of Drow civilization, the capital of Menzo Berenzan. Uh, by this time, characters should be well into Tier 3, um, and but still, at the same time, if the party's mostly made up of surface folk, they're going to stick out like a sore thumb in Menzo Berenzan, which is probably the most xenophobic city in all of the lore of D&D. And it's got thousands of drow. So literally, literally, this is like more dangerous than just about any situation that you could imagine. More dangerous than being um, an undercover cop infiltrating a drug lord's organization. More dangerous than being a double agent behind enemy lines in a war zone. Just really all kinds of dangers every time you turn around. Chapter 16 takes the party to the largest single organism in the Underdark, an enormous fungus that is the source of the madness suffusing the campaign. And the reason is also revealed because Zuktmoy is corrupting the spores of this organism. And then chapter 17 concludes the campaign. Location of the PC's choosing. There's several places they can choose from. Um, there's a royal rumble of sorts between whichever of the demon lords remain surviving in the Underdark. And then when there's a final victor after that royal rumble, the PCs are expected to fight it. And hopefully by that time, the last surviving demon lord is a bit depleted because it's been fighting other demon lords. And there we go. All right, so that's kind of a quick overview. Now we're going to look a little bit at at each of the chapters, and this is kind of a preview of what we'll be doing in the weeks to come. So let's go ahead and talk about, for each of these chapters, I'm going to talk about the starting level, where the adventures happen, and then give you a little bit of a reason why you're going to need to tune the encounters. So, starting level for Chapter 1, Prisoners of the Drow. The adventures occur in a drow prison camp called Velkenvelv. The characters will probably be level 2 by the time they end this. Okay, you've got an entire prison camp run by drow. The drow also have a bunch of giant spiders with them. And the drow have Quagos, which is a kind of underdark monstrosity. I guess they're kind of akin to ogres from the Underdark, if you will. And obviously, with drow, um, they're quite powerful. There's lots of different levels. And then the prison cell where they're being held has got an anti-magic field in it. So while they're in the prison cell, the spellcasters can't even cast a spell. So the deck is really stacked against the creatures against the characters, and yet they're told, "Oh, you better get out of here, or else there's going to be a group of slavers coming that are going to take you back to Menzo Berenzan and sell you, and that's going to end the campaign real quick." So you have to do a good job of figuring out how you're going to build these encounters so that the PCs have a fighting chance, and yet not water it down so much that it's too easy for them. All right, Chapter 2, Into Darkness. Starting level 2+, ending level 3+. The adventures occur in a variety of locations that can be set between any of the established places on the Underdark map. The types of dangers they're going to run into are going to be hook horrors, gnolls, giant spiders, oozes, wraiths, drow, quaggas, dark mantles, and more. Once again, you're going to have to be very careful about how you tune this and how many enemies you throw up against them so that it's not a TPK. All right, chapter 3, we get into the Dark Lake. Starting level 3 to 5, ending level 4 to 6. Adventures occur around or on the Dark Lake. They also occur in the Kuatoa village of Slubladup. Dangers include aquatic trolls, dark mantles, hags, grells, sturges, marrow, water weirds, Kuatoa of all different ranks. There's many different types of Kuatoa, all that all have different CRs, and Demogorgon himself. So yeah, congratulations, level 4 party. Hey, there's Demogorgon. What do you guys want to do? Hopefully they say run. But I almost guarantee it, you're going to have somebody that says, I pull out my longbow and I fit an arrow. I'm going to shoot the guy. Okay. Good luck with that. All right. Chapter 4, Gracklestug. Starting level 4 through 6, ending level 5 through 7. Adventurers occur in, near, and under the city of Gracklestug in a series of winding passages called the Whirlstone Tunnels. It's kind of like the Whirlstone Tunnels aren't really a sewer system, but they kind of are like the sewer system underneath a D&D, metropolis. Dangers include stone giants, Duragar, Darrow, an adult red dragon, dretches, oozes, giant spiders, ettins, death dogs, succubi, and more. So, yeah, lots of stuff going on there in Gracklestug. Chapter 5, Neverlight Grove. You can start this anywhere between level 4 and 7 and end anywhere between 5 and 8. Adventures take place in and near Neverlight Grove, which is a whole myconid city. Myconids are sort of fungus humanoids, if you will. Dangers include Nothics, demons of various type, including Chasme and Vrak, carrion crawlers, spore savants, giant fire beetles, myconids, Otiug fungi, Grick alpha, shambling mounds, bridesmaids of Zugtmoy, chamberlains of Zugtmoy, and potentially Zugtmoy herself. So, yet another demon lord. Chapter 6, Blingden Stone. Level 4 through 7, ending level 5 through 8. Adventures occur in and around the deep gnome city of Blingden Stone. And you can expect to encounter here fiendish giant spiders, ghosts, cave badgers, oozes, elementals, zorn, were-rats, animated armor, basilisk, galebdur, deep gnomes, gargoyles, gibbering mouthers, and sentient oozes. Yeah. Sentient oozes? Mm-hmm. If that's not scary, I don't know what is. All right, Chapter 7, Escape from the Underdark. Minimum level of 7. So you're supposed to be 7 by the time you reach here. Adventures can occur between any of the major settlements of the Underdark and the nearest passage to the surface. Basically, the biggest danger here is being chased by drow and their allies, including giant spiders and summoned demons. And by the time you get out, you're supposed to be level 8. All right, Chapter 8, Audience in Gauntlgrim. Adventures take place in Gauntlgrim. Now, the dangers here, it's written such that you're not really supposed to fight anything, but if you have that kind of party that's just spoiling to go poking around, there's plenty of dangerous things here that they could run into. So there's cloakers, driders, ghosts, dwarven soldiers of various ranks, gargoyles, gricks, grick alphas, rust monsters, doppelgangers, fire elementals, magmans, nagas, undead, and assassins. Chapter 9, Mantol Dareth. You could start that anywhere between Chapter 8 and or level 8 or end by level 9. Adventures occur in and around the neutral Underdark trade post of Mantol Dareth. Dangers include a gem possessed by the spirit of a demon lord, Duergar, deep gnomes, gargoyles, various drow, giant spiders, quaggoths, assassins, and beholders. And yes, that gem that's possessed by a demon lord, guess what happens if you pick it up? Yeah. Um, guess what kind of madness you'll suffer if you're carrying that gem around. So yeah, that's fun. Chapter 10, Descent into the Depths. You could start this chapter anywhere between levels 9 and 13, and anywhere between 12 and 15. Adventures occur between named locations in the Underdark, and the dangers include oozes, gnolls, hyenas, odiugs, demons of various types, including Barlgura, Kazme, Hezrus, shadow demons, Vrox, the demon lord Jubilex, drow of many various ranks, and myconids. Chapter 11, Graven Hollow. Um, this is one of the few points where it gives you a indication in the campaign itself. It says when you come to Graven Hollow, you should be level 10 or higher. So adventures occur in and near the stone giant library of Graven Hollow. The dangers here include basilisk, Gale of Dur, stone golems, stone giants, drow, an archmage, and a death slod. But once again, kind of like in Gauntlgrim and Graven Hollow, uh, there's not designed to be any hostile encounters. And when you leave Graven Hollow, you should be 11th level or higher. All right. Chapter 12, Tower of Vengeance. Starting level here is anytime after level 11. Adventures occur in and near the Wizard's Tower of an outcast drow archmage. Dangers include drow, archmage, death slod. Once again, no designed hostile encounters, although there's the way this one is set up, there's going to be some PCs in your party based on the alignment of PCs and the way certain players are going to want to play that alignment. Where even though it's not supposed to be a fight, there's going to be some players that are going to be spoiling for a fight. I can almost guarantee it. So you kind of got to be careful about running this. All right. Chapter 13, The Worm Writhings. You can start this one anytime after level 11. Adventures occur in tunnels created and still inhabited by purple worms. Dangers that they're going to find in here: Driders, Drow, Ettins, Grick, purple worms, troglodytes, trolls, umberhulks, ropers, piercers, quippers, mephits, giant lizards, formians, giant spiders, beholders, and modrons. And once again, ending level for this is going to be 11 plus. All right, chapter 14, the labyrinth. Start and end this anywhere after level 12. Adventures take place in a twisting maze-like set of tunnels called the labyrinth, at the heart of which sits an ancient machine. Dangers here include two of the demon lords, Baphomet and Yeenagu. There are gnolls, grells, demons of various kinds, including Hezrus, Manes, Nelfishni, Vrox. There's minotaurs, mondrones, quaggoths, shriekers, mind flayers, gargoyles, tridrones, mephits, green slod, and flying snakes here. So, yeah, plenty of things to throw at your party in this area. Chapter 15, The City of Spiders. All right. The party should be level 13 by the time they start and when they finish this. Adventures will take place in the Drow capital city of Menzo Berenzan. Dangers here include all kinds of drow: giant spiders, giant lizards, demons, Hezru, shadow demons, succubi, incubi, goblins, orcs, quaggoths, trolls, driders, intellect devourers, bugbears, duergar, assassins, mind flayers, oozes, gricks, fungi, gargoyles, ogres, orogs, and stone golems. So, yeah. And like I said, if you're a surface folk anywhere in here, whew, well, you know, you're just like you're like, why don't you have a slave collar on, big boy? We need to slap you in irons and take you and sell you at the slave market. And it's kind of like if you go around um, without looking like a drow. That's kind of what's going to happen to you in this city. All right, chapter 16, the Fetid Wedding. Starts at level 13, ends level 14 plus. The adventures take place near a fungal creature called Ar uh, Aram Aramikos, the largest life form in the Underdark and perhaps in all of the world of the Forgotten Realms. Dangers include Zuggtmoy and Jubilex, Death Tyrants, Gnolls, Gricks, and Grick Alphas, Two-Headed Trolls, Demons, including Balguras, Chasmays, Hezrus, Menes, uh, Nelfishnes, Vrox, Fungi, Myconids, Oozes, and Otyugs. And just in case you weren't aware what a Death Tyrant is, a Death Tyrant is an undead beholder. So you have to fight both living beholders and undead beholders in this campaign. Joy, oh joy, oh joy. All right, and finally, chapter 17, against the demon lords. You better be 14 plus when you start this. Adventures take place in one of several locations the players can choose for an epic final battle. Dangers include various demons of many types and any surviving demon lords, which could include Jubilex, Zuggtmoy, Baphomet, Yinagu, and Demogorgon himself. So the idea is that all of those surviving demon lords are going to kind of be in a royal rumble. They're all going to fight each other, and then when there's one left standing, probably weakened, then the party is supposed to jump in and fight them and see if they can prevail. All right, that is a very quick rundown, very quick overview of the entire Out of the Abyss campaign. We are going to go through week by week, breaking down each chapter, breaking down the constituent adventures that occur in each chapter, talking about how they relate in the campaign, talking about some of the difficulties of tuning these for the intended party level, and we'll also talk about the ways that you can pull these out and put them into your own campaign. Now, because these all occur in the Underdark, there's probably less direct way you can lift them and put them into another campaign, but a lot of times what your transposition of this particular campaign is going to be is thinking about the themes and the ideas, and you might even use some of the maps, but if you're not playing an Underdark centric campaign, you're probably going to want to change the environment a little bit, so you could have the same map of a city, but just not have it be a city underground. It would be a city above ground. So things like that. All right. Well, that's going to do it for our overview of Out of the Abyss. If you like this, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, click the post notification bell. Down in the description, you'll find how you can follow me on all the social media platforms, as well as how you can follow the actual play sessions that I run every week over on my Twitch channel. If you have any questions about the campaign or things that you want me to specifically cover when we go through different chapters, please put that down in the comments below, because I will be reviewing these comments as I go through. And if there's specific things that you guys want me to touch on, I can go ahead and do that. So thank you very much. Hope to see you back here next week for um, for our look at chapter 1 from Out of the Abyss. And keep in mind, this is going to continue going in the Lore Friday playlist, but I'm also building sub playlists that cover each of the specific campaigns. So you're going to see a playlist for Tyranny of Dragons, a separate playlist for Princes of the Apocalypse, and then this video will start the playlist for the Out of the Abyss campaign. All right, everyone. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you later, and we hope we see you next week once again for Lore Friday. Good night, everybody.